Let's rank all of IVE's comebacks. Since they debuted at the end of 2021, IVE has released hit after hit, and they've taken the K-pop scene by storm. So, in honor of their new release, IVE Switch, let's build a tier list of all of their comebacks through Accendio. First, let me go ahead and explain my tier list. Starting from the bottom, F is for flop. These are comebacks that totally missed the mark in one way or another, to the point that the comeback is irredeemable in my eyes. D is for do not like. These are comebacks I actively do not care for, but can acknowledge might still have some charms for others. C is for could use some TLC. Has some merits, but not my favorite. Would benefit from another round of editing or additional funding, but doesn't need to be completely scrapped. B is for basically okay. It isn't something I typically seek out, but by no means bad. A is for always listen. Really solid comebacks that aren't necessarily superlative or timeless, but that I'll never skip in my playlist. And then, of course, obviously, S is for Song of the Year candidate. These are the best of the best. These are comebacks that stand out from other K-pop for their exceptionally high quality and potential staying power. To limit the scope, I didn't include any Japanese rewrites of their Korean comebacks, and I also omitted B-sides from this list, but if you stick around to the end, I will tell you my favorite B-side because it absolutely deserved to be a title track of its own. Let's dive in, starting with 11. Not every new group sticks the landing with their debut, but I've really went and scored an 11 out of 10 with 11, at least in terms of how much controversy and hype their debut yielded. The song does some really neat tricks with adjusting the tempo leading into the chorus, which creates a sensation of apparent dizziness and in the anticipation. The fuchsia dress that they styled Wonyoung in is one of my favorite stylings I've seen on any K-pop idol ever. That is absolutely her color. I will say though, this one did have to grow on me a bit initially. I'm gonna give it an A. I do always listen to it, but like I said, it did have to grow on me a bit. IVE's sophomore release was Love Dive. Love Dive is as close to a perfect K-pop song as you'll find in my mind, and it was every bit worthy of the day songs it received. It's one of those songs where choosing a killing part is an impossible task because the entire song is killing part from start to finish. Someone during my AMA asked me what the perfect K-pop song was, and while I couldn't immediately come up with an answer at the time, Love Dive is a strong contender. It wasn't just a Song of the Year candidate, it was a Song of the Year winner. S tier, no question. Next up we have Afterlike. I'm gonna make some people mad with this one, but I don't love Afterlike. Like, it's okay. I feel like I have to whisper because the internet's gonna crucify me. I've mentioned before that I really don't like disco, and it's not Afterlike's fault that it's disco. Like, it's literally sampling one of the most famous disco songs of all time. That I Will Survive sample always was weird to me, but Chochimi made a really good video explaining why he thinks it was used there, and that honestly made me come around on the song a little bit. That guy has such a knack for making me appreciate things more. I do think the music video for this one is really fun. It has like a stylized view of the behind the scenes for the individual idols, complete with the bulk camera rigs and CGI targets. However, in addition to the disco, this song is a pretty bad offender on the, oh my god, crap, we have to give the rappers something to do. Somebody shoehorn a rap in there somewhere front. But that's a personal pet peeve. I'm gonna put it under could use some TLC because I genuinely think the song would have been better if they would have just done without a rap part. Next up, we've got KITSCH. KITSCH. I really don't know what happened with this song. When it came out, I felt like I was the only person that liked it, but then that thing went on to get a perfect all kill, so clearly not. It did mark the beginning of IVE beginning to experiment with their sound a little bit more, so it got some mixed reception initially for sure. Either way, I adore this song. It starts off with a bad recorder sample, which instantly teleported me back to learning hot cross buns in music class in 3rd grade. The teaser's really centered on the chorus and gave me rather a different impression of what the final song would sound like, so it took me a couple of listens to buy into the verse and pre-chorus sections, but ultimately I love the entire track. Its one biggest shortcoming is its terrible line distribution. Liz is the main vocalist and my bias wrecker, but it's like they forgot she even existed for this comeback. Liz is a treasure and she deserves to be showcased. That said though, I never skip this one. We're gonna put it in the A tier. Next up is I Am. This comeback is incredible and truly showcases IVE's elegant charms at their absolute finest. IVE had already established this posh concept for themselves with their first few releases, and I Am really cranked the Kardashian vibes up to an 11. The sets are littered with glittering chandeliers and detritus of wealth. IVE is whisked away in a darkened limo and flies high above us all in a private jet, forever out of reach to mere mortals like ourselves. Not many people know because she is the ultimate professional and kept it very quiet, but Wonyoung went to the hospital multiple times as a result of injuries sustained while shooting what I'd argue is the single most iconic shot in a K-pop music video in 2023. It really was a Song of the Year candidate for me last year, so it's going in S tier where it belongs. Next up, we've got wave. Lol at how when I tried to rewatch the music video for this, I misspelled IVE as ice and ended up watching a bunch of BattleBots videos instead. Whoops. I always find the concept selections for Japanese releases by K-pop groups to be hilarious because they provide a window into what Koreans think the Japanese want. In Starship's case, they decided that the Japanese like tennis and Miami Vice, and boy did they commit to everything but integrating those two concepts in any way. They ran out of ideas for part 3, so they called up YG and shot inside a recycled 2NE1 video because Baby Monster hadn't debuted yet. The styling is super hit or miss in this one for me. The sporty all-white styling in the first third is spectacular. The mismatch Molly nonsense in the second third is offensively bad. What did they do to Ray here? I hate when stylists have all the freedom in the world to flatter the individual idols and they just choose not to for some reason. Fortunately, they went with some extremely safe but generally chic black outfits with white accents to bring it home during the third part, and I am grateful. Overall, I wish they would have tried just a little harder on the editing for this music video so that the 3 scenes were actually integrated, but I do really like the song. There's something strangely hypnotic about the combination of the ethereal vocals and rhythmic chanting. It almost gives me Arabian Nights during the post-chorus for some reason. Maybe more Miami Nights, I guess, but you can get the gist. I can practically smell the vaporwave from here. It's at least better than the Japanese video for 11, which appeared to have about an $11 budget. I'm gonna be forced to put it under could use some TLC because I genuinely think this music video could have been better. I feel like I could have made a better music video for this, honestly. I've have your people call my people. We'll talk. Next up is I Want. Maybe it's the diehard Coca-Cola fangirl in me, but for whatever reason, I do not want to like I Want. Despite that, I cannot help but admit that as shameless advertising cash grabs go, it's kind of a bop. Like, it wasn't really a good enough song to be a full-on title track, but for what it is, it's doing the best it can. The whole song is pretty random, to be honest, but I don't hate it despite my natural revulsion towards Pepsi products, which is really saying something, so clearly they must be getting something right here. One gripe, I really do not think this lime green is Wonyoung's most flattering color. She looks so washed out. If you compare it next to the fuchsia dress she was wearing in the 11 era, there's no question. She looks so much more alive. It just goes to show you, you can be literally the most beautiful woman in the world, but if you're not wearing your best color, you're not gonna look your best. I'm not gonna lie though, I kinda fucking ruined this song for myself by mishearing It's Okay to Repeat as
It's okay to repeat. It's okay to repeat.
which, to be clear, it very much is not. Anyway, I can't unhear that, and now neither can you. Always Coca-Cola. C for could use some additional takes on the bridge and the styling. Next we have Either Way. Either Way is a really beautiful song with an incredibly moving music video. So moving, in fact, that I literally cannot listen to the song without instantly turning on the waterworks. Some autistic people struggle with interpreting others' emotions, and some struggle with hyper-empathizing with them. I am decidedly in the latter camp. I am physically incapable of watching other people cry without also crying myself. This is true even with random actors from insurance commercials, but especially so when it's idols I have genuine parasocial attachments to, like the members of IVE. I mentioned this struggle in my XG discography ranking where Winter Without You was concerned, and it's even more true here. I don't listen to K-pop to feel feels, okay? I prefer my music upbeat, fun, and completely free of emotional baggage. Something about the imagery of watching the IVE members struggle under the weight of their literal baggage just guts me. Watching the members force themselves to smile through tears is unbearable. Like, that's what masking is, y'all. That's literally what life feels like when you're neurodivergent sometimes. It hits way too fucking close to home for me. I also hate that Starship teased us with a few brief shots of blonde Wonyoung in this video because I was really excited to see her promote with blonde hair, but it must have just been a wig or something because her hair was black again when Baddie dropped. The one shot that really stuck with me, which I haven't seen many other K-tubers mention, is this shot of Gao lying in the dead leaves. Her name actually translates to autumn, so the scene is a clear but subtle personal reference that I think is worth pointing out. Needless to say, this song didn't make it onto my Spotify playlist because it's unbearably sad and I cannot handle it. Very well done, just not for someone as emotionally fragile as I am. I will literally never listen to this on purpose. And unfortunately, I don't think that there's anything they could do to change that. D is for dislike button. Next is Off the Record. Off the Record is fine. If a new group I had never heard of released it, I might have a more positive opinion of it, but after some of IVE's other smash hits, Off the Record fell a little flat for me. It's kind of forgettable. You can't convince me it's anywhere near as catchy as Love Dive or even their debut 11. They claim that Off the Record was a title track, but it felt like a B-side to me. ESO is evidently not as effective at dramatically crying as Jhun was or something, because this video doesn't punch me in the gut in quite the same way. I do enjoy the brief callback in the bridge to Love Fool by the Cardigans, a bona fide Y2K pop classic that sounds like my childhood. I honestly think I like the music video for Off the Record more than I like the actual song. The video utilizes a lot of really interesting imagery that could definitely merit its own episode, examining some of the allegory present here. I am decidedly not Christian, but I was raised Protestant and I find that imagery very fascinating. We'll give it a B. Next up, we've got Baddie. I will defend this song to my grave. Baddie is like the quintessential song that I loved that the internet just didn't know what to do with. There seems to be a really strong correlation between how polarizing any given K-pop track is and how much I'm going to actually enjoy it. IVE's concept switch was a big departure here and people were not prepared for it. But as somebody who loves noise music and girl crush concepts, I was hyped. I would really recommend you check out my Baddie deep dive after this video. I think that music video was so much more clever than it gets any credit for. I did kind of laugh at how the stylists occasionally made it look like Wonyoung was a 14-year-old addicted to shoplifting from Hot Topic, but you know. I am also still trying to figure out how Gaul and ESO looked like basically the same person this comeback cycle. Like, they never looked like each other at all before this. What happened? They look like sisters. I don't think I'm being racist here, but I definitely struggled trying to figure out which fan cam was which when they were first coming out. It really drives home how important it is for the stylists to ensure that the idols contrast with each other on stage so you can tell them apart. I'm gonna put it in A tier. As much as I love it, I can understand why some people don't. And then on the other hand, we have All Night. Big oof. I think this was a total misfire for IVE's English debut. It's not that I'm opposed to all English K-pop tracks or covers or even collaborations with Western artists. It's that if you're gonna cover an existing song, you have to make it your own somehow. Not only did IVE add literally nothing to the original track, so Wavys' verse is the only real distinction between the two, but they didn't even give the individual members of IVE an opportunity to shine. This song made me fully appreciate why idol groups tend not to sing in unison too often. When every member is singing at the same time, there's no way to appreciate their individual contributions. Also, the styling in this music video was a massive miss for me. What the fuck is this? Do you think this is how Americans dress? I would not be caught dead in a single outfit in this entire video. It is totally incoherent and way too random to be organic. 6 out of 6 members need better outfits. I've deserved a better English debut, period. Starship really phoned it in on this one, and I'm sure I wasn't the only person disappointed by the total lack of quality. They didn't even bother with choreography. Like, what the fuck is the point? F tier, flop, irredeemable. Oh my god, we made it to IVE Switch, yay. I was originally planning to do this as a top 10 ranking, and then HEYA and Accendio came out, and they were so good that I just couldn't bear to do it. HEYA first. This comeback is phenomenal. I literally listened to it 6 times in a row when it came out. People have talked pretty extensively about the sun-eating tiger concept, but the Polly Pocket concept that they incorporated here too was so cute and so nostalgic. I am still cracking up at the fact that there are all of these Chinese netizens that are mad that people from Korea are using some of their cultural relics. Like, y'all, if you don't want people to use Chinese culture, maybe you should stop fucking invading them 19 times. You literally do not get to bitch that you invaded a country, forced your culture on them, and then they incorporated it into their culture. China's imperialist campaign continues to this day, and they don't respect the nations around them by respecting the borders that have been established on maps for years. Them trying to roast IVE for what was a very reverent utilization of their myth is bullshit. HEYA is S tier. If they get another day song for it, I won't be surprised at all. China can die mad about it. And last but not least, we've got Accendio, a music video that I liked so much I had to drop this script and make a video dedicated entirely to that one song. This is yet another phenomenal implementation of drum and bass in K-pop. I listened to this song so many dozens of times in the past week and I'm still not sick of it yet. You know what? Fuck it. Acendio's going in S tier too. The beauty of a tier list is that more than one song can win because I couldn't choose. I did tell you I would mention my favorite B-side from IVE though. which is Hypnosis. I really wish this one would have gotten a music video. I feel like it could have had such a cool concept. It's on IVE, so check it out sometime. Did any of these answers surprise you? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Also, let me know if there's any other groups you'd like to see discography rankings from in the future. Thanks for watching. Don't be toxic, and I'll catch you next time.